What is up, dudes? Today I got a little bit of news about the BMW M3. I went to a performance shop in my area. They do a lot of work with BMWs, and they do a lot of like E36 track prep, that sort of thing. So I decided to take the BMW in and get basically a mock sort of track inspection, get them to look over everything on the car so they can kind of give me any guidance on the other things I should consider doing, considering we have basically the winter to get stuff done now. I wanted to look everything over, make sure I didn't miss anything, make sure nothing unsafe was still left on the vehicle. And while I was there, I decided, you know what, I'm going to talk to them about installing or fabricating the rear cage section, so we can start thinking about getting some harnesses in and that sort of thing. So behind me on the car right here, that's a quote for what it would take to basically install a rear cage. They do a ton of work on these cars, and they have like 4 or 5 cars just sitting out back, race cars basically that they've built to show me an example of what the cage would look like and kind of what, where the bars would go and everything else. So today we're going to talk about that real quick. I'm going to split this into 2 videos. I haven't gotten the report on everything that they're recommending doing to the car before track day. I should hopefully get that tomorrow, and we can talk about maybe what extra projects we're going to add to the list for this winter, and then some of the work they may have to do. Some of it I may do myself, but basically there's a few extra leaks and a couple other things that need to be taken care of, and that's good and bad. Good because that's what this channel is about, is working on the M3 and the other car, so we have more projects to take care of. Bad because there's extra stuff wrong with the car. Sorry, my arm got tired. I had to switch to the other arm. So they said overall it's a really good starting point. This shop is actually pretty good. They'll do like an accurate assessment of the car and go, hey, this is not a good base for you to start with. There's more work here than it would be just for you to sell this and go find a cleaner car. This car they were actually pretty impressed with. It does have a lot of good performance mods. Some of the mods are a little bit old, so they did check to make sure that like the bushings and stuff are still viable. But we'll get into that list in the next video. Today, let's talk about the cage. Random tidbit I forgot about. This is the key to my E36. This is actually an E46 key, so it's the next generation key. Of all the like random stuff on the car, this is the thing that the shop was actually most curious about. The guy who upgraded the car last had like a security system installed and somehow upgraded it to use the more modern key, so the buttons and everything all work. Anyway, kind of funny little tidbit that they found really interesting. So let's talk cage building real quick. So basically, I got a quote for them to put in a main hoop, a couple struts, and diagonal bar, harness bar. I'll jump in the back here in a second and we can kind of explore where the hoop would be and where the struts would be and everything. But it wouldn't be a full cage. It would stop basically where my seats start. He recommended that if the car is going to see any sort of street time, not to go past the seat, because if you hit your head on a roll bar without a helmet or any sort of padding, you can die. So hitting your head on a solid bar like that is not a good idea. He did express that it's possible to expand, if sometime in the future the car goes more than just a streetable track car, to put in door bars and put in kind of like the rest of the cage. So they have a lot of experience with this sort of work, and they had a lot of really good information for me. So let's go ahead and jump in the back and we can talk about where the tubing would be and kind of like what interior panels we might have to lose, that sort of thing. It's gonna be tight. Alrighty, so we are currently squeezed in the back of the M3. Sorry about the horrible lighting. It is pretty dark in this interior, but basically back seat, front seat, door, my feet, because I'm huge and I'm kind of chilling out back here. But basically, you've seen a main hoop. A main hoop, basically follows the perimeter of the car up towards the ceiling, across and down. That's kind of like the starting point. That's really what's supporting the roof. There would be a strut that basically connects from the main hoop up here that comes back towards the back of the vehicle. there are seats in this car, obviously, and these seats do fold down. Basically there's a couple different cages they can install. Some of them you basically lose the rear seats altogether. Some of them, which is the one I'm leaning towards, you basically lose this side bolster here. So I mean, the seats either way don't really provide any function as seats anymore, because they actually you know, you'd have to climb through basically a cage to get back here. But the seats do actually provide a lot of like sound deadening and just kind of like, not like, you know, the way he explained it is like, it's not like fun exhaust noise. It's like rattly suspension noise and stuff like that. So it's not super cool if you're gonna ever drive it on the street. So basically, strut from up in this general area straight back. This bolster here would come out, and they put like a big plate basically on the structural part of the car. They explained to me you don't want to go too low, because this is where like the wheel arch is, and it's just sheet metal. Up here there's a structural plate that they can like basically weld a new plate on, mount it there. So main hoop, strut on the opposite side of the car as well. There is basically a large diagonal that comes from the top of this strut straight across down to the floor over here. So big diagonal that basically supports the main hoop plus the struts. Then across the center here, right behind the seats, these are the holes in the back of the seat to mount your harness. There's basically a harness bar that comes straight across, all the way across the back of the car. So these harnesses can mount straight to it. And these the harness that would be through here would mount straight to it as well. The only addition that I would be adding past that is they can run, this might be hard to depict a little bit, but run, you know, there's one strut running from here straight to this part of the car, and same on the other side. They can actually tie this top piece to basically directly back where I'm sitting, just like one extra strut across the car. He did recommend that as kind of like typical precaution. They do have a bunch of other options, running like, you know, X's across the center here, and that's when you lose the seats. I think I'm leaning towards being able to keep the seats for sound deadening and to kind of make it still look a little street car-y, but you do basically lose these side bolster pieces. These apparently come out separately. So yeah, basically it's pretty expensive to get a cage put in. I still would like to do it because I really want to run harnesses, and the proper way to do that is really to have a cage, especially with these fixed back seats. So we're going to be working towards that goal, also doing the other stuff that basically is on our to-do list for maintenance. The only other thing that we talked about that's actually included in this like reasonably large estimate is I'm still really tall with the seat on the ground, and you know, my helmet and everything. You know, I showed a couple videos of putting this race seat in and putting it basically on the floor mounts and taking out sliders and all that great stuff. But I was still grazing the sunroof. Remember that? So I talked to him about that, and it was cool because he had some like kind of race cars there to show me the example of this. Basically, what they can do is remove the headliner, which I know I just recovered in one of the other videos, but pull the headliner, and basically there's this gigantic sunroof. They call it a sunroof cartridge, I think, that basically runs the whole length of the roof here. So it's where the sunroof like pops down and slides in, that sort of thing. They can remove this and basically weld a bunch of tabs around the sunroof panel itself and kind of weld it in place, remove the cartridge, and it gives you 1.5 inches or so more headroom, which would be perfect considering I'm just about skimming the headliner right now. So that would give me 1.5 inches or more above my head currently, which sounds perfect. So that's included in the estimate. I don't know exactly when this is going to get done. Maybe I want to get it done this winter, so it might have to be after the first of the year, but in the meantime we do have quite a bit of other maintenance-y items that we need to take care of. So anyway, thanks for listening. If you have other roll bar advice or want to talk about it, that's cool. keep in mind, you know, the whole setup with the sunroof and everything is, you know, just about $2,000, give or take. I know that doesn't sound like a ton of money, but it is when you're on a semi-budget build. So, and that's not including buying harnesses and whatever else we need to make it work. That's just installing the cage. That's me taking out the interior, me taking out the headliner, and them, you know, tacking basically the sunroof back in place, and cage gets painted like a I think they primer it and then they paint it black. But the shop is really cool. I want to kind of develop a relationship with them because they do a ton of work on M3s in this area and a ton of work on track vehicles in the area. So I'm hoping, the guy was cool. He said if I decided to do the cage, they'd basically refund the $100 that I spent on the track inspection today, or put it towards the price of the cage. So that's cool, trying to earn a little bit of business. So again, I'll put another video when I get back the maintenance-y list, and I kind of asked them to like prioritize what was needed to do right now, etc., and we will figure out whether I can take care of them, we can do them on the channel here, or whether the shop will need to take care of them. But yeah, a lot of stuff coming up for the M3 in the coming months. It is winter, but I gotta keep cranking away on this thing. So I'm gonna have to buy me like a little space heater or something for the garage and get this puppy warmed up out here. So yeah, subscribe if you like M3s and are interested and want to see some cool stuff. The plan again is this car is going to be my track use vehicle, but also drivable on the street. So I got to drive to the track. It's got a lot of cool track mods, but it's got a lot of, you know, it is a 20-year-old car with 170,000 miles on it, so it's got some other needs as well. We're going to take care of them. We're going to get it caged. We're going to get it safe and reliable. And yeah, see you next time. Bye-bye.